And we're back with former Colorado governor and Democratic presidential candidate John Hickenlooper. And Governor, you are in the third day of your presidential campaign, and I'm going to try to get us through a lot more issues as quickly as we can. Your position on Medicare for all.
You know, I think that the priority is that, I believe that health care should be a right, not a privilege. We've got to get to universal coverage. There are a lot of different ways to get there. In terms of Colorado, we got to almost 95% coverage, almost universal coverage, going through the Affordable Care Act and building a really innovative, an innovative way of adding on to the people that had private insurance.
So do you see Medicare for all as a possible goal, or is it something you would oppose?
I think Medicare has many positive parts, but I probably would oppose Medicare for all just because there are over 150 million people, Americans, who have some form of private insurance through their business, and the vast majority of them are happy with it. I don't see how you transition from taking something away from all those people that are already happy.
What additional gun safety legislation would you support in Congress?
Well, obviously, universal background checks. You know, when we actually got the state data for Colorado back in 2012, getting to half the gun purchases, 38 people convicted of homicide had tried to buy a gun and we'd stop them. 133 people convicted of sexual assault. You added it was over 3,000 people convicted of violent crimes had tried to buy guns and we stopped them. I think that's going to be true in every single state. And if we go out and do state by state by state, literally within 6 months or a year, I think we'd have national legislation.
I have one more tax question, which is not so much a tax policy question, and that is that the Democrats in the House are trying to pass a bill that requires the disclosure of 10 years of tax returns for presidential candidates. Would you disclose 10 years as a presidential candidate? Would you support it and make it law so that future presidential candidates have to disclose 10 years of tax returns?
I think absolutely having transparency at every level of elected office is important. And I believe maybe about the last 2 years or last 4 years of my term, since I haven't been running for anything, but before that, I went back 25, almost 30 years. So, I'd be happy to support making sure that everybody has to come clear on, do they have conflicts of interest, and what do those look like, and how do we make sure that our elected officials are making decisions for the public good and not their own?
And Governor, what is your position on what we now know of the Green New Deal? And I just want to specify, it's not written in legislative language, so it's not the same thing as something that's actually been introduced in Congress as legislation. It's more a set of goals. But what you've seen of it, what is your reaction to it?
Well, you're right. It's a resolution. And I think what I really believe, and I agree completely with the urgency that we see in the new Green Deal, it is the time right now that we can't rely on incremental progress. I've got a master's in geology. I think I'm the only geologist, professional geologist ever been a governor. And I look at, how far we have to go and how quickly. And a lot of the stuff, what we've done in Colorado, where we got the oil and gas industry to sit down with the environmental community, and we've got the only comprehensive methane regulations in the country. We've got to get methane regulations all over the world fast. We've got to build international relationships to get that done. And the Green New Deal is that opportunity to really look at how can we get as fast as we can get there? Some people criticize the universal working part of it, but we're at 3% or 4% unemployment. We've got almost everybody working already, so that's not as big an issue as some people make it out to be.
And Governor, on the Iran deal that President Trump has pulled the United States out of, would you restore American participation in the Iran deal that was negotiated by the Obama administration?
Well, I think at this point, you kind of created fractures in the deal. I think it's only prudent to look at ways to improve it. And again, I haven't seen all the details of what are the give and takes, but we'd be fools just to go back and sign it if we can see that there's a better way of doing it. That being said, to go backwards on deals that we have negotiated painfully and worked with our allies to create these really meaningful alliances, I think is, over the long term, more destructive than constructive.
Governor John Hickenlooper, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. We hope you come back as your positions on the issues solidify, as the debate intensifies. We're going to want to hear more from you. Thank you very much, Governor.
You bet. Thank you, Lawrence.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.